Cell phones are a part of our daily lives, but they can also be dangerous. In this video, we'll look at 5 real stories of the most disturbing deaths caused by cell phones. These tragedies show the unexpected risks that come with our everyday devices. It was June 24th, 2015, a hot summer day in Irving, Texas. Patricia Allen, a 30-year-old mother, decided to take her 5 children to the apartment complex pool for a fun day. Patricia was known to be a caring and attentive mother, always looking out for her kids. However, what was meant to be a joyful outing turned into a tragic event that would change the family's life forever. Patricia's children, 11-year-old Anthony, 10-year-old August, 9-year-old Trishawn, and her younger children, aged 3 and 6, were excited to swim. The pool had a shallow end and a murkier, deeper end. Patricia stayed in the shallow part playing with her 3-year-old son and asked the older kids to remain where she could see them. But soon, disaster struck. According to Patricia, while playing, she suddenly saw her son Trishawn being pulled underwater. Panic washed over her as she noticed his red shorts and saw his face for a brief moment before he disappeared into the deeper, clouded part of the pool. Patricia immediately dove in to save him, but the water was too murky and she couldn't see him. During this chaos, Anthony and August also went under, possibly trying to help their brother. Desperately trying to save her children, Patricia placed her 3-year-old on the pool's edge, diving back in to search for the others. Unfortunately, she couldn't find them in the cloudy water. In a heartbreaking moment, her 3-year-old fell back into the water, forcing her to save him again. She was torn between saving him and continuing her search for her 3 older children. Witnesses arrived at the pool and saw Patricia staring at the water in shock. They said the pool appeared calm, with no signs of distress. Some witnesses said they initially thought she wasn't serious when she asked for help. But once they realized the gravity of the situation, one of them called 911. By the time emergency services arrived, it was too late. Anthony, August, and Trishawn were unconscious when pulled from the water. Despite the efforts of first responders, all 3 boys tragically lost their lives. Anthony and Trishawn were placed on life support, but passed away 5 days later. The loss left Patricia devastated, facing not only grief, but also public scrutiny and an investigation into the tragedy. Police began looking into the incident, and some witnesses claimed Patricia had been distracted by her phone and not watching her children. Others said when they arrived, the children were already missing, and Patricia appeared unresponsive. Officer James McClellan from the Irving Police Department confirmed that Patricia was seen sitting by the pool's edge, staring into the deep end. Patricia strongly denied these claims, insisting she was never on her phone and had been in the water with her children the whole time trying to save them. Her lawyer, Howard Rosenstein, took on her case for free, working to clear her name. He hired a private investigator to review phone records and interview witnesses who knew Patricia and her family. Patricia's husband, too distraught to speak publicly, said their children knew how to swim, contradicting the police's early belief that they could not. The investigation revealed that the pool had been cited for poor visibility and other safety issues in the past, which may have contributed to the tragedy. On July 10th, Patricia was arrested and charged with a single count of injury to a child. This charge stemmed from allegations that her lack of attention had contributed to the deaths. However, her family and friends stood by her, describing her as a loving and devoted mother. Family spokesperson Anthony Bond stated that Patricia was one of the kindest people he knew, and many felt she was unfairly accused. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Patricia faced immense pain, legal challenges, and public judgment. Her surviving children were placed in foster care, further adding to her heartbreak. As she recounted the events of that day, Patricia insisted that she had done everything possible to save her children, expressing the deep anguish of watching them drown. Attorney Rosenstein continued to defend Patricia, pointing out that the pool's poor maintenance and visibility were key factors in the incident. He emphasized that Patricia had no criminal record, no history with Child Protective Services, and no issues with substance misuse. He was determined to have Patricia testify before a grand jury, confident she had nothing to hide. Despite the tragedy, Patricia received overwhelming support from her community. Neighbors, churches, and friends donated toys and money to help her, and even contributed to her $50,000 bond. The community's support showed their belief in Patricia's innocence and their trust in her as a mother. This tragic incident, where Patricia Allen lost her 3 children, remains a heart-wrenching story of loss, grief, and unanswered questions. As the legal process continues, Patricia hopes to clear her name and reunite with her surviving children. It was a warm Tuesday morning on July 29, 2014 in Bartonville, Illinois. Wendy Rybolt, a 44-year-old mental health technician, was at home with her teenage daughter. The day started like any other, but soon, tragedy struck in a way no one could have predicted. Wendy was a well-loved member of her community. She worked at the Zeller Mental Health Center in Peoria and was active in her local church, Bethel Lutheran, where she participated in programs like Cursillo and Tech, Teens Encounter Christ. Born on September 21, 1969, Wendy lived a fulfilling life surrounded by her family, which included 4 children, her parents, a brother, and many extended relatives. That Tuesday morning, Wendy and her daughter were inside their home when a fire broke out. The cause remains unclear, but the fire spread rapidly, consuming the house. Acting quickly, Wendy and her daughter escaped the flames. However, once they were safely outside, Wendy realized her phone was still inside the burning home. In that moment, Wendy made a decision that would change everything. She went back inside to retrieve her phone, a choice many might struggle with. Phones hold our memories, connections, and daily lives, so it's understandable why she would feel the urge to go back. But the fire was intensifying, and it wasn't just the flames that posed a danger. Thick smoke and toxic gases were filling the house. Wendy's daughter stood outside powerless as her mother ran back. The smoke quickly became overwhelming. Wendy did not emerge from the house. By this time, police and firefighters had arrived. Officer Brian Fengel, chief of the Bartonville Police Department, was among the first responders. He knew the danger Wendy faced. The smoke, full of carbon monoxide, was deadly. Fengel and his team tried to get inside to rescue Wendy, but the thick smoke made it impossible to proceed without putting their own lives at risk. Firefighters also arrived on the scene, battling the blaze as it grew more intense. Unfortunately, by the time they were able to enter the house, it was too late. Wendy had succumbed to the smoke. An autopsy later confirmed that she had died from massive smoke inhalation, the toxic gases taking her life before help could reach her. The day, which had begun like any other, ended in heartbreak. Wendy's death shows the dangers of house fires, not just from the flames, but from the deadly smoke that can overcome someone in moments. After the tragedy, Chief Fengel spoke to the media, emphasizing a crucial lesson. Material things can be replaced. You never want to go back in to retrieve anything. The message was clear. Nothing, not even a phone, is worth risking your life for. Wendy's story is a painful reminder of this, and a warning to others to stay out of burning buildings, no matter the emotional attachment to the items left inside. Wendy left behind a grieving family. Her daughters, Amber and Abby, who had survived the fire, would carry the emotional burden of losing their mother. Her other children, Allie and Nathan, were left to process the news of their mother's tragic death. Wendy's parents, Stephen and Sherry, had to face the heartbreaking reality of losing a child. On August 4, 2014, Wendy's funeral took place at the Davison Fulton Bartonville Chapel. Family and friends gathered to say their goodbyes as Reverend Raymond Barclay led the service. Wendy was cremated, and her ashes were later placed in the Lutheran cemetery. Looking back, many might wonder why Wendy chose to go back into the burning house. In moments of crisis, decisions can be driven by instinct, especially when something feels irreplaceable. But the reality is, no material item is worth a life. If Wendy had waited for the firefighters, she might still be here today. Her tragic death is a caution to all of us to think carefully in emergencies. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to act impulsively, but sometimes the most important thing we can do is stay safe and trust the professionals. Wendy Rybolt's story is not just about the tragic loss of a life. It's a lesson in how quickly things can go wrong when danger strikes. It tells us that in a life or death situation, the only thing that truly matters is getting out alive. It was December 25, 2015 in San Diego, California. 33-year-old Joshua Burwell, a father from Sheridan, Indiana, had planned a visit to Sunset Cliffs to enjoy and capture the ocean's beauty on Christmas Day. Known for his passion for photography and love of nature, Joshua was excited to spend the day taking pictures. However, the day took a tragic turn. Joshua arrived at Sunset Cliffs with someone in his car. The area was busy and he struggled to find parking. After finally securing a spot, he began walking along the cliffs, seemingly focused on an electronic device, either his phone or camera. According to witnesses, Joshua was engrossed in the device and unaware of his surroundings. As he walked near the cliff's edge, Joshua continued to look at the device in his hands. Sunset Cliffs is a popular spot known for its stunning views, but also its dangerous drop-offs. Unfortunately, Joshua did not realize how close he was to the edge. Suddenly, he lost his footing and fell 60 feet onto the rocks below. Witnesses immediately rushed to help. 3 bystanders, including 13-year-old Thor Weilink, who lived nearby, quickly climbed down the cliffs to try to save him. Thor brought ropes and other equipment to aid in the rescue. Despite their efforts, Joshua did not survive, and paramedics pronounced him dead at the scene. News of Joshua's tragic fall spread quickly, and his mother, Cheryl Burwell, posted about her heartbreak on Facebook. She confirmed that Joshua had been taking photos when he fell and shared her grief over losing her son. In her post, she urged others to appreciate their loved ones, saying, "Hug your kids and always tell them you love them. I'm glad my last words to Josh were, 'Love you.'" San Diego lifeguard Bill Bender later addressed the media, warning people about the dangers of distractions in such risky environments. "It's like driving while using your cell phone. You don't want to walk and use your phone in a dangerous area. You need to stay aware," he said. Interestingly, the device Joshua had been using was never found, leaving parts of the incident unclear. What remains certain is that distraction likely contributed to his fall. Joshua's death reminds us of how a brief moment of distraction can lead to tragedy. While Sunset Cliffs is undeniably beautiful, it also demands caution. The loss of Joshua Burwell on Christmas Day was deeply felt, especially by those who witnessed the event and tried to help. In 2010, a tragic and unexpected incident took place in Rajasthan, India, which shocked the local community and highlighted a hidden danger in everyday technology. The victim was 23-year-old Gopal Gujar, a cattle herder from Banda village in Kota. His death revealed the unforeseen risks posed by mobile phones, devices many of us rely on daily. Gopal lived a simple life, sharing a modest home with his brothers. Together, they owned a small piece of land and worked as cattle herders. Every day, Gopal would take the cattle to graze in the nearby forest. Gopal frequently used a Nokia 1209 mobile phone, a model known for its durability and simplicity. Released in 2008, it was perfect for someone like Gopal, who needed a sturdy phone that could withstand the rough conditions of the fields. Although it was a basic device, it became an essential part of his daily life, allowing him to stay connected with his family and friends. On that day, Gopal followed his usual routine and took his cattle out to graze. He had his Nokia 1209 with him, as always. Later in the day, Gopal made a phone call, not knowing that this ordinary action would lead to a devastating outcome. While using the phone, it exploded near his ear, causing severe injuries to his ear, neck, and shoulder. The explosion was so powerful that it left Gopal fatally wounded. Alone in the forest, there were no witnesses, and he passed away there in isolation. When Gopal didn't return home that evening, his family grew concerned. They knew his daily routine well and sensed something was wrong. As night fell, a search party was formed to look for him. Late that night, they found his body near his farm. Alongside him were the remains of his shattered phone and its battery. The scene was horrific. Gopal's injuries were severe, with visible burns and wounds from the explosion. The Nokia 1209 was found broken into pieces nearby. Investigations later confirmed that the phone had exploded while he was using it, a rare and deadly event. News of Gopal's death spread quickly throughout the village and the wider region. It was a shocking story, particularly because incidents like this were extremely uncommon at the time. Various media outlets, including the Times of India and Sky News, reported on the tragedy. Police confirmed that Gopal's death was caused by the phone explosion. This was the first time such an incident had been recorded in India where a phone exploded while not being charged. This raised immediate concerns about the safety of mobile phones, particularly those with counterfeit or defective batteries. The Nokia 1209, though known for its durability, was not immune to the dangers posed by counterfeit batteries. Counterfeit batteries, often made with inferior materials, were common in the market and could lead to malfunctions, including explosions. In Gopal's case, it was suspected that the battery in his phone was counterfeit, a theory supported by similar incidents reported in other countries, including China and Nepal, where faulty batteries were linked to fatal explosions. Gopal's tragic death was not an isolated incident. Across the world, there had been other reports of phone explosions causing serious injuries and even fatalities. In China, a man lost his life after his phone exploded while he was using it. In Nepal, another similar incident was reported. These cases brought attention to a growing global issue that needed urgent solutions. Phone manufacturers, including Nokia, took these events seriously. Investigations were launched to understand the causes and prevent future occurrences. The focus was on identifying and eliminating counterfeit batteries from the market and ensuring that all phone components met strict safety standards. Gopal's story is an example of the potential dangers in the technology we use every day. Mobile phones have become a necessary part of life, but they can pose risks if they contain faulty components. While such incidents are rare, they emphasize the importance of using genuine phone parts and following safety guidelines. Since then, phone manufacturers have increased efforts to educate consumers on the risks of counterfeit batteries and how to avoid them. These precautions aim to prevent future tragedies and keep users safe worldwide. It was July 30th, 2013, in Palatine, Illinois. Roger Miro, a 56-year-old resident of the Willow Creek condominium complex, was well known in his community for being kind and helpful. Legally blind due to optic nerve damage, he lived independently and commuted to work by bus each day. On this particular day, Roger returned home around 3:30 p.m. after a regular workday. Later that afternoon, he realized his cell phone was missing. After retracing his steps and searching his apartment, he suspected that it might have accidentally fallen into a bag of trash he had tossed down the building's trash chute. Roger decided to check the trash room in the basement to retrieve it. At around 6:30 p.m., Roger approached his neighbor, Larry Boney, a member of the condo association board, to ask for the key to the basement. Larry, unable to accompany Roger because he was waiting for a phone call, handed him the key without any warnings about the trash compactor in the basement. Roger, determined to recover his phone, went to the trash room alone. The trash room, located in the parking garage, contained a large trash compactor connected to a dumpster. The compactor was equipped with a photoelectric sensor that automatically activated the machine when trash levels reached a certain point. There were no warning signs posted on the room's door or on the compactor itself to alert people to the potential dangers. Inside the room, Roger found a ladder set up next to the compactor. He climbed the ladder and leaned over the compactor's hopper to search for his phone among the trash. At this point, one of two things may have happened. Either a bag of trash came down the chute and knocked him off balance, or Roger accidentally overextended and fell in. Tragically, Roger's fall into the compactor's loading chamber triggered the sensor, and the machine began its cycle. With no safety mechanisms in place to help someone escape, the hydraulic ram inside the compactor activated, causing fatal injuries to Roger. By 9:30 p.m., Roger's wife, Donna Miro, returned home and became worried when she couldn't reach him. She called the police to report him missing. The police began their investigation by speaking with Roger's neighbors, one of whom mentioned that Roger had borrowed the key to the trash room earlier. The police then searched the trash room and noticed that the lock on the door had been removed. They found the ladder still propped up against the compactor. Tragically, after further investigation, they discovered Roger's body inside the machine. The Cook County medical examiner later confirmed that Roger had died from multiple crushing injuries, and his death was ruled an accident. Roger's death shocked the community. He was remembered as a kind man who often helped others, particularly individuals with learning disabilities. His untimely death also raised serious concerns about the safety of industrial machines, such as trash compactors, and the lack of proper warnings and safety measures in place. Following the incident, Roger's wife Donna filed a lawsuit against the Willow Creek No. 6 Association and Hillcrest Property Management. She claimed that the management failed to place necessary warning signs outside the trash room and on the compactor. Additionally, she argued that residents were not properly informed about the dangers of the equipment, and Roger should not have been allowed unsupervised access to the area, especially given his visual impairment and the automatic activation of the machine. Craig Brown, Donna's attorney, said, "The defendants provided Roger access to a hidden danger. This tragedy could have been prevented if proper warning signs had been in place and the board had been educated on the risks of the machine." The lawsuit sought compensation for wrongful death and the emotional distress suffered by Roger and his family.